Sabah everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I have for you a double unboxing of the most anticipated devices, at least for me, of this year. The Galaxy S8, and this is from Verizon, and the Galaxy S8 Plus, which is from T-Mobile. Both devices have a lot of features and they have some similarities between the two and of course some differences. I'm going to show you guys also a comparison, a size comparison between them and some of the other flagships on the market currently. Last but not least, I'm going to test them out with the Gear VR that was announced and released around the Note 7. So this is the first one that had USB Type-C compatibility. Now this one doesn't have the remote, but I want to see will it work with the Galaxy S8 Plus, that 6.2-inch beast that was just announced from Samsung. This is TK. Let's go ahead and check it out. Now, looking at both devices, we have a pretty similar set of hardware as far as the two. We have a 5.8-inch display here as opposed to where we have a 6.2-inch display. So 4G LTE capable, 12 megapixel back-facing camera. This is both the same. From what I understand though is that the camera is the same one on the back end of this device as it was last year with some software improvements in the processing. We do have a bump from last year's 5 megapixel camera sensor to an 8 megapixel front-facing camera with QHD capability on the front. IP68 dust and water resistance. Both of those devices have those. The iris scanner is present on both. Secured by Samsung Knox, and again, that's built in. We have 64 gigs of built-in storage with the ability to use an external micro SD card, and that's again the same thing on this one with the S8. 4 gigs of RAM built into both. Samsung Pay compatibility, of course, wireless charging, Android operating system, which we're running is Android 7.0, and the earphones tuned by AKG, as it mentions here. Again, the one that we have here on the left is the Verizon one. Let's go ahead and take that one straight out. The one thing I want to mention to you guys is this is a review unit, so it did come to me. I kind of already opened. I didn't actually have to open this box. It's a 5.8-inch display. We have an 8 megapixel front-facing sensor with an iris scanner, of course, with an earpiece. We do have the volume rocker and the dedicated Bixby button on the left, power button on the right. There's no more physical home button at the bottom or even a fingerprint sensor. We do have a haptic feedback version of a fingerprint of a home button that's present behind the glass, and I'll show you guys when we get there. On the back, switching it, right out of the box, we have the same sensor we had last year. It's a 12 megapixel sensor with a heart rate monitor as well as a dual tone LED flash. And here is the new placement of the fingerprint sensor. It's sitting in the back next to the camera. It's going to be kind of an interesting setup where a lot of us were used to doing this to the device. We now need to learn how to do this and make sure that we don't do this instead of this. So that's going to be a challenge. But moving on with the hardware, we have a SIM tray with a micro SD card option up to 256 gigabytes. This is the Snapdragon 835 variant. This is the US model, so you're not going to be able to get the Exynos processor here, but definitely very nice. We do have a microphone up there. We already covered the left and the right. Going all the way to the bottom, we do now have USB Type-C. Definitely the days of the micro USB have basically passed us. Single firing speaker, a second microphone, and the 3.5mm headphone jack. And then what we have here is extremely well designed, very well versed system. It screams quality, screams it's going to slip out of my hand. It screams like I need to put a case on it. I have another video coming out for you guys with cases, so keep it tuned here. But other than that, it looks very nice. Let's check out the black one. This is the Midnight Black one from T-Mobile. We're looking slightly higher. With the 6.2 goes a little bit taller as opposed to 5.8. Again, both almost no bezels on the side. On the sides, you're pretty much not going to see any of those, but on the bottom, even the chins are very, very small. Quickly looking through the boxes, we definitely get the SIM removal, some information packets here. On the big item here, we do have the headphone, the USB Type-C, USB Type-A connector, and let me see here, some additional, looks like earpieces here, and then here's the headphones, again, packaged. They're AKG headphones, AKG tuned headphones. We do have the power wall brick for Quick Charge 2.0 and Quick Charge or adaptive Quick Charge that they have on their system. Last but not least, we do have micro USB to USB Type-C converter. This is for all of those micro USB cables that we still have. And we do have a USB Type-C OTG adapter that gives us the ability to transfer data from our old device, maybe Samsung or non-Samsung, directly into our Samsung device. So I'm starting off from the right, the S8 Plus with the S8. Of course, this is just what you'd expect. Here is the LG G6. This is the latest, again, one of the other devices on the market that's running the same aspect ratio, the 2:1 aspect ratio, or an 18:9 screen size. And what it gives us here essentially is the ability to get a bigger screen on a small form factor. And you'll notice the difference between the two. I think it's a 5.7 to 5.8. It's hard to tell on the size dimension-wise, but the devices kind of occupy about the same distance, with the exception, I think the S8 is slightly narrower on the build because it curves the screen. But as far as the height, I think they go pretty much to the same level. Yes, they're about the same height. I would almost tempt to say about the same here. Last but not least, on the left here I have is the Pixel XL. This is the biggest of the ones that Google announced late last year. The reason why I wanted to put it here is I wanted to show you guys that this is considered to be the biggest one of both. The Pixel was a smaller device, the Pixel XL was bigger. Comparing it directly with the S8 Plus, you can see obviously the S8 Plus is taller as it is a 16:9 or 18:9 aspect ratio. Next, I'm going to put in a few more devices. Now, this is the 1+3T. Again, much wider, bigger display. It's a 1080p display. We do have USB Type-C. Form factor to the S8, since this would be kind of the closest one to it. Again, the S8 seems to be a little bit shorter and thinner, sporting a much bigger display. Jumping over to the iPhone 7 Plus, this is the biggest of the two. 5.5-inch display. Definitely wider than the S8 and even shorter. So you're supporting a bigger screen. This is 5.8 to 5.5. You could definitely, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Definitely something you can keep in mind. The 7 Plus is definitely a good performer if you like an iOS ecosystem. But the S8 at this point, the smaller of the two, is performing really well. And definitely you'll be able to check this out at any of your local Verizon stores. Last but not least, I want to compare this to the Huawei Mate 9. This was released earlier this year in the US. Just look at the sheer size difference here. I mean, it almost looks like it's a tiny device, but in reality, it's thinner and then not as wide. And when you go to the S8 Plus, it's almost the same height, but it's still not as wide. So let's boot up the S8 Plus. Give it a second. Here you go. And here's the S8. The launcher is something that's very similar to the Google launcher. Swiping from the bottom, it gives us access directly into accessing the launcher itself, where the app drawer is no longer present. By default, out of the box, your Recents app is on the left and your back is on the right. I was able to switch that over here on the S8. The configuration is slightly different between Verizon and T-Mobile. The main thing you want to mention to you guys is they already have their items kind of like listed and grouped in their own folders. So T-Mobile has their applications as well as Verizon, and I like the organization between both devices. YouTube is installed out of the box here. I did notice that there was an Empire game, voicemail, which is a Verizon service. Samsung Gear Manager is installed out of the box. I'm trying to see if there's any additional bloatware here installed by any other thing. Let's see here. These are all native Samsung apps, Google. Not a lot of, bloatware, but they are present, and you can disable some of them if you prefer. By pressing and holding on the app itself, it gives you the option of either uninstalling, sleep, selected, app info, or shortcuts. So if I don't like the game, I can uninstall it or disable it. Some options are going to go there. Overall, with the settings, let's bring them down. Very similar. Let's go ahead and swipe these things away. I'm not gonna, okay, I guess I can't go that far. We have the same panel that we saw in the last update that came in with the S7 Edge, very similar. Now, both are running Android 7.0. It's not 7.1. The configuration is going to be then depending on your carrier. You notice that this is a different listing than the way you get it here. That doesn't make it bad. Let's just go here, view as simplified list. Yep, so the option on the Verizon one gives you the ability of changing it from simplified list to standard list, where T-Mobile doesn't allow that. So you have the ability of customizing. We have the ability to go into options here where we have connections, Bluetooth notifications, display, wallpaper, advanced. This is more standardized. So if you swipe from the left, let me see here. It doesn't seem like we have access to the side panel. That's an interesting concept. Okay, so they decided to have their own launcher, both on the S8 and S8 Plus. The configuration is very simple. So you have the connections, the mobile connections here on the top. Everything is under connections, sound and vibration. You can go down here for sound, vibrations, notification. Let's go ahead and under sound, we have sound mode, vibration mode, default tone, volume control, of course, the ringtone, the vibration, do not disturb, of course, touch sound, touch lock, screen lock, emergency, charging sound, all of those things that you normally have the ability of configuring. Where it gets a little bit unique is sound quality effect, which is the built-in EQ. You can use that to set up a better sound experience. Separate app sound, which is something new that we haven't seen. And that's the ability to play your notifications via your phone sound, as opposed to having it go directly into your, let's say, headphones or Bluetooth speaker, so that you don't have to hear the same thing. So you can say, keep all the notifications from the main applications on the device, but only send the music to the speaker. This is something very nice if you've ever listened to music in the car and the notification comes in and your audio drops just to accommodate the notification, and then it brings it back. The one thing I want to mention to you guys also is that the Bluetooth that we have here is the Bluetooth 5.0, which gives us the ability to play audio on two different devices at the same time. Under the option here, we have received sent files, so this is where it's looking for. So if I go under connections, and I can go directly under Bluetooth, I have the option that says Bluetooth control history. When I turn it on, it gives me the ability, the dual audio option, to set up with two speakers and playing audio to both of them. Definitely a nice little update that you don't think about till you see it or it's in the hand. So that's definitely appreciated there. Mobile network, again, this is just configured by your provider. Advanced calling, we have Wi-Fi calling built into the T-Mobile version. Sound notification display. The one thing I want to mention to you guys, when you're first setting it up and going through the options, you're going to notice that the display is not set to full Quad HD. The resolution right now for me is 2960 by 1440. That's what I have it here. And here it says 2220 by 1080, which essentially is full HD. So out of the box, this one came to be the same resolution, 2720 by 1080. I changed it to be Quad HD. I'm going to change this one as well. I'm assuming here, the benefit here essentially is better battery life, but I just see it as a little bit deceiving. If you advertise a device that is Quad HD or WQHD, set it to that setting and give us the option to go through from there. You can definitely change the screen font, the size, the shape, so you can make them obviously changing the DPI on the screen, as you can also go in directly within developer options and do that. Full screen application configuration, so this is if you want to basically stretch the application for it to work in the full native 18:9 as opposed to having it cropped to 16:9, which is what most applications have. And you can also do it on the fly. LED indicator, status bar, keep screen on, screensaver, and of course some other recommendations here for video enhancer. Display, again, we just went through wallpaper and themes. I did download the second theme, which is the dark theme, material dark. I'm going to go say apply to this one. I feel like it works best with, especially with AMOLED displays. It saves battery by just using a darker theme. Continuing, let's check it up here, device maintenance. Just out of the box, this is the T-Mobile variant. I have 1.6 gigs of memory left out of the 4 gigs, 51.6 gigabytes of free storage out of the 64. Performance mode is not turned on. It's under basically set to optimize, which is not, again, full speed. It doesn't use the full potential of the device, but I'll explain that to you. Battery, it's learning, is just being turned on. Here it is. The theme has been applied. You'll notice everything is at a darker panel here. Bixby is sitting on the left. It does not get applied onto this one. Let's go and unlock the device. So definitely very customizable, very easy to set up. And then let's go back real quick here under settings. And after going through, so we have the themes, which we went through, the display, the edge screen. This is very similar to the way we had it before. You have the ability of customizing what comes on the edge as far as apps, different experiences, contacts, all of the other things that you can. Also, you can configure the edge lighting to, if you ever have your device face down, the edges of the device will light up if a call is coming in or a notification. You can customize it to be either the full edge, a side, or it's different depending on what you like it to be. Other than that, we can move forward to under advanced features where you get some of the nice setup options here. So smart capture, multi-window, which we know, direct call, smart alert, easy mode, and then we have the ability of going to video enhancer. This gives us a little bit better video playback colors, so it's supposed to look much better. And then fingerprint gestures here, which we can turn on. And then basically it gives us the ability of using this fingerprint to swipe up and down to bring down the notification panel. Battery performance, as I mentioned, this is what you have the performance settings right now. We have off, mild, max, you can turn it on. And then you can, of course, set control to different apps. Storage, we talked about that a little bit in the beginning. I do have some things installed. So right now, space I have is 48.68 gigs left. So that's some of the apps I installed. And of course, you have other options with the expandable memory. Performance mode is what I was talking about, the battery configuration here. Now, by default, it's set to be optimized, which essentially is kind of like throttle, but not necessarily the fastest option. Game mode, it will be more consistent with when you want to play games. So it'll have brighter screen, slightly faster processor. Entertainment, not as fast of a processor, but definitely brighter screen, as you'd want to be able to enjoy the pictures, but not necessarily, you know, not that much horsepower is needed there. And of course, high performance is when you just basically boost everything to 100%. This is going to be by far the most battery eating feature, but it's going to be definitely very appreciated there. We have apps, of course, configured this where you'll be able to add, install, uninstall. NFC and payment, this is where you'll be able to turn on either set up Samsung Pay or Android Pay. It'll be compatible with both. Location lock, screen privacy, and emergency, which you'll be able to set up your different options for either the app permissions here, sending SOS, emergency messages. Easy mode is kind of their answer to what we normally used to have. So easy mode to them, which is what they did last year, is when they reintroduced the app drawer. So you'll notice the icon set and everything changed right now. By clicking here, I have access to the app drawer, and the app drawer obviously a much bigger font. I like it. If you want to keep it, I think it's something that you can do. I'm pretty sure at some point or another I am going to be installing a second launcher on this, so this is not going to be a big issue for me. But the fact that it is there, if you missed the app drawer, it definitely is there. You can install it, and you can turn it on both. Next, the last but not least here, last couple of things here we have is accounts, Google accounts, language and input, backup and reset. Bixby is installed on this device. It's something that you want to have to set up when you first get it. So you go to Start, and then you have to agree to all, and then content. Let's see, because if you disagree to one, I don't know why they even give you the option. Hello Bixby, some of the features will be turned on by default. You can interface with them directly with the button. You can basically configure some of your options as far as what you'd like it to do. Bixby is also present within the camera, so let's go ahead and open up the camera on both of those. As I mentioned to you guys, we did get a slight bump in the camera in the front. Let's go ahead and say OK. Location services is turned on by default on this one, so I'm going to say Bixby Vision on by off. Now, both devices have similar hardware: an 8 megapixel front-facing camera, 12 megapixel back-facing camera. The setup on both will be very similar. We have HDR. You'll be able to swipe or switch between the camera. So there's a couple of swipe gestures. If I swipe down, it reverses between the back and the front-facing camera. I can do the same thing here. Swiping from the right brings us all the different filters that they have. Swiping from the left, we have the ability of switching between auto, pro, panorama, selective focus, slow motion. This is how they're doing their bokeh answer to not having two sensors. Hyperlapse, which is it's very similar to the way Microsoft's hyperlapse videos are done. Food pictures, which just makes the colors pop out. Virtual shot, and you can just basically swipe back. The one thing you'll notice, that there's no slider for zooming in and out. And what they did that is they answered it by using the shutter button. So if you zoom up, you can zoom up and down, and it does the same thing. Releasing it takes you back. Now, of course, you can still do pinch to zoom. You can definitely use the Bixby button on the left to initiate Bixby anywhere you want, or press and hold on the home button, and then you'll get it here. You notice I'm pushing the home button on the screen, and it does have some haptic feedback whenever I touch it. So as if I press it this way, I feel it, then I'm pushing a button. Last thing I want to check out for you guys is this is the Gear VR that was announced around the Note 7 late last year. And this is intended to work with the USB Type-C connector. So out of all the other Gear VRs that we've had in the past, you cannot use this obviously on the new S8. You have to have this one at the bare minimum, as it says Note 7, and that's where the compatibility with the Type-C connector was built into it. Here's the Gear VR. Unlocking it from the top removes the cap, and this is again the main benefit here. It does come with the provided USB Type-C adapter, as long as you snap it on. And here's a little quick tip also: if you just snap it on and forget to actually turn on the switch, your device will not read it. So you do need to click this over the connectors to actually snap on and for it to initiate the app. Now let's go ahead and try to do the quick size test here. Let's unlock. And this is the S8, so of course I go without any and here it is, it did launch it. So it looks like the S8 fits perfectly in there. The bottom pieces here are holding it very sturdy. Okay, it looks very good. And I can see that it launched the actual app. I'll do a video comparing and actually doing a really good demo of the Gear VR on this and in a couple of days, as soon as I've had some time to play around with it and experience it, and of course make sure that we can record. But let's go ahead and put the device that I've been really worried about not fitting into this, which is the S8 Plus, because I don't have a Note 7 to compare it to, but from what I understand, this is by far the biggest device they've made. So let's go ahead and put it in. Here's one is inside. Make sure you pull this all the way to the right. And okay, let's see here. Okay, definitely. Okay, so this by far cannot go any more to the right, and this is all the way on the left. So they cannot go any bigger on devices, at least not with this Gear VR. But it does look like it fits and it works fine. The size comparison between the two, I think 6.2 inches is not that big. I'm normally used to using big devices. The Note 7 was a very nice device, very comfortable to use. I think the fact that we have more screen is going to be a plus for everybody. I think a lot of us are going to love it. I'm happy the fact that the Gear VR that I have from late last year still works. I'm able to use it. I don't have the remote control, but from what I understand, at least in the Oculus store, not everything requires the remote, and even the games that require the remote don't necessarily need to use the remote, as you could use the sensors that are on the device to be able to control it and fire and play. So not the end of the world, but I think it's nice that they decided to go with the, as far as the actual experience, closer to the Daydream VR, which comes with a remote control out of the box. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I know this is going to be a really long video, but I wanted to give you guys the most that I could. Just day one, it's available today. You can go down to your Verizon store, you can go down to your T-Mobile store to pick up your device. Definitely pick up the one that you feel works the best. I like both the fact that the S8, even though it's smaller, still gives me what I want. A 5.8 inch display, which considerably is what we used to call a phablet, is now in a handheld form factor that's about the same size of what we used to get for the 5.2 inch display. So very happy. Like and subscribe as usual. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Look forward to a lot more content coming out on these guys within the next 30 days or so, because I'm going to be testing these guys to the limit. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for the support.